Okay, so back to the beach. Everyone's screaming and crying. Charlie's dazed. Jin cries out for Sun. Michael screams, "Walt!" Shannon is being useless, as always. And Locke's helping Jack rescue a trapped guy after realizing he can now walk. Claire's having contractions while Boone and Rose are making out. Then we see a man stupidly walk right in front of the still running engine and get sucked in, causing an explosion. But right before it happens, in slow-mo, we can see here that a black object swoops down right over the engine, and the explosion happens right afterwards. If you watched my smoke monster video, click in this little box down here, you can see it. I said that the producers said that the black object is not the smoke monster, but just a CGI error that conveniently swoops down right over the explosion. Now, the man that was sucked into the engine is named Gary Troop. And if any of you did the Lost Experience, you'll probably know who this is. I really should probably do a video on the Lost Experience, all about it, because there's just some pretty cool things that you guys all should see. But anyways, Gary Troop, according to the Lost Experience, had a romantic relationship with Cindy. Remember, she was a flight hostess, and I'll talk about her later. Gary was the author of the book called The Bad Twin. In the actual show, Hurley finds and reads the Bad Twin manuscript, and later Sawyer reads it. Remember when he tries to stop Jack from finding the stolen guns, he says, "Cool your jets and walk around the coconut trees. I've got just like 10 pages left." And you can actually buy the Bad Twin book on Amazon.com. The book's about a guy named Paul who is hired by a man named Clifford Widmore to search for his twin brother Alexander, who is always seen as the Bad Twin. And Paul eventually finds out that there's more to the Widmore family than meets the eye. And there's actually a lot of crossovers from Lost, like the Widmore Corporation, the Hanso Foundation, Paik Industries, Oceanic Airlines, Mr. Cluck's Chicken Shack, and even Cindy the Stewardess is in the book. But the most important part about Gary Troop was that he's the author of the book The Valenzetti Equation. Now this book is the most interesting one. The actual Valenzetti equation is, according to the book, a mathematical calculation by Enzo Valenzetti designed to predict the exact number of years left before Armageddon, or the extinction of the human race. And the equation is 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, or the lost numbers. And a lot of people think that the Valenzetti equation is really what the whole show is about, the whole purpose of Dharma, and what they're trying to prevent, even though Lost Experience is only semi-canonical, meaning that it's only semi-true to the actual story of Lost. After all, Ben says that they're the good guys, and Kelvin and Desmond say that they're just saving the world. Click this video down here. It's actually from the Lost Experience and explains the whole Valenzetti equation, and it's actually from Alvar Hanso. It's pretty cool. And the whole reason Gary Troop was on Flight 815 to begin with was he was just returned home from a business trip. You mix up the letters here in Gary Troop, you can get either an anagram for purgatory or parrot guy. I'm kind of like me. Good bird. Just a little bit about Gary Troop that you might have not known about, but let's actually get back to the island now. So the wing starts to collapse, but Jack saves Hurley and Claire right before they get crushed. After everything looks okay, Jack wanders off by himself and strips off his shirt like a Chippendales dancer, and he's cut. Kate comes over, she sews him up, they bond, and thus Jate is formed. At night, Charlie writes the letters Fate on his finger wraps, like fate versus free will, and later we can see that he changes them to late, while Saeed wonders why no one has come for them yet. How little did they and we know at the time. Shannon's arguing with Boone, saying that they'll be rescued soon, that there was a black box on the plane and that they'll find them. But remember in Season 4, Captain Galt supposedly thought to be Edward Mars. Remember he's a U.S. Marshal who arrested Kate in her flashbacks a little bit later this season and is also escorting her on the plane. Well, they find him and he appears to be dead because he has shrapnel in his stomach, but he isn't just yet. Later, Jack's talking to Kate about how the plane supposedly crashed, saying he doesn't know for sure though because he blacked out, but Kate said she didn't. If Lost really is a loop, then Jack blacking out is pretty important. Kate says she saw some smoke in the valley. That was probably from the cockpit. And right after that we hear this. Good timing, Kate. It's funny too, because Walt asks this right afterwards.
Is that Vincent?
Walt is special after all. Vincent's nowhere to be found. He's never around when the monster is. After they hear it, Charlie says,
Terrific.
We go to the first flashback ever, and it's right before the crash. Jack's looking out of the window of Flight 815, and he's also sitting in seat 23A. 23. And Cindy, she's a flight attendant. Remember I talked about her a little bit earlier. She gives Jack 2 small bottles of vodka for his drink. He puts one in his pocket, which we saw at the very beginning of this episode, and if Lost was a loop, like I was talking about earlier, this would be the question to answer then. So of course Jack drinks 1 bottle. As Charlie rushes past him, they feel turbulence and Jack comforts Rose, telling her they'll be alright, but it isn't going to be alright, and the plane starts to crash. And it's also interesting here, but Rose isn't wearing Bernard, her husband's ring, around her neck, as she later says she always does when they're flying. Although she is seen kissing it on the beach a little bit later. Back at the beach, Jack's staring out over the water, and we can hear Rose in the background say that the noise the monster made sounded familiar, and that she lives in the Bronx. If you watched my Smoke Monster video, I talk about it there too. But one of the noises of the monster is actually from a New York taxi receipt printer, and here's the sound.